All right, let's get this on the road. We're going back to the childhood of Carol and Alice, and of course Ruth, and the amazing machine that they had as girls, which was none other than the White Model 77 Rotary, of course, duh. But we've got to unbox them now, and I've got to give Carol a call. So hold on a second, I got to get some lights on. Oh, I'm liking this music. Yeah. Have all the lights on? I think so. All right, where's my phone? I gotta give Carol a call. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? All right, Carol. Carol out in New Hampshire, by the way. I wonder if my phone can call New Hampshire. I haven't tried it yet. Let's try it. All right, hold on. Hey, Carol, I got some fun music on. Listen to this. It's like childhood music. Hold on. All right, I'll turn it down. I was just dancing. All right, let me put this phone up by the video camera. I've already explained to folks that we're kind of going back to the childhood, and this was the machine that all of you girls used. And so why don't you share your poem if you don't mind? And let me see if I have it.
Okay. Now, once in a while I have to cough because I have asthma. Is that all right?
Oh yeah, you can cough. Just
Okay.
talk extra loud, like you're kind of filling a theater, if you will.
Am I better off just putting it on speakerphone or probably right into the phone?
Yeah, just talk loud. Just talk a little bit louder, and if you have to cough, just cough.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. The Three Stitching Sisters by Tom Murphy. This is the story of three stitching sisters who followed much different paths. One became a nurse, one became a teacher, and one became an engineer. Their lives were all different, their families too, but one thing they all shared was the love of their sewing tool. There have been many machines, Bernina, Elna, Pfaff, to name just a few, but the best of them all, only the White would do. Corona quarantined and locked them all in each night, and that is the reason I mention the White. A small and steady workhorse, a perfect straight stitch it did make, but it never failed the three as their later machines did of late. Then they heard of a website where great machines were, and a man who repaired them, so they would soon all purr. From cow country he hailed, and Scott was the best, and every machine he sold he put through the test. With skill, humor, and charm for his guest, he found them the Whites far away to the west. There were smiles all around, and their moods all improved, though at home they were bound, awaiting the news. Their days went by faster, their workloads were less, all at least somewhat due to the great Whites, I guess. The end.
Very cool, very cool. And who wrote that?
Tom is really great at this, and then I added some things because when you write a poem, it has to kind of come from the heart, and I gave him key words, and then Chrissy, who is a great writer, I ran it through her, and she cleaned it up for better rhyme, I guess is the word. Because we were stuck on a few stanzas, and I emailed it to Chrissy, and she cleaned it right up.
Well, I think it's good enough to publish, and I think you should send a copy to Oprah, and maybe she'll say, "And a new car for you, and a new car for you, and a new car for you."
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
fabulous. Well, I
I
appreciate.
mean, it certainly, is resonating with between all the flour disappearing on the shelves and the yeast, people getting the one thing the virus has done is it has brought people back to home-based activities.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, there's a national elastic shortage, for heaven's sakes. So many wonderful people making masks and getting them off. And what would we have done without it?
Well, exactly, and people have they've migrated inside, and I know that they talked about puzzles and board games and other things like that were just flying off the shelves as well. So yeah, people are home based now, and as it used to be, everybody would gather around the radio or gather
Yep.
around the TV, and now many are gathered around the sewing machine. So
Yep, apparently, and the people repairing machines, as you know, when I called my Ruthie, not my sister, but Ruthie is my dealership. I
sure.
said my old faff needs to be cleaned now. It's gotten real tired, and she said we can't keep up with the calls. She said people are digging out machines they've had stuffed in their attics to help with mask making or whatever. But she said Eddie is the repairman. She said Eddie's going crazy.
Well, that's okay. Eddie might
Eddie's
be
got
going,
work.
yeah, he might be going crazy, but just like any other person with a business, he takes a deep breath and grins a little bit and goes, "Thank God I'm busy," because a lot of
Yes,
folks,
no kidding.
a lot of
Oh
folks
my
are
gosh.
not. So yeah, I mean, even amid the little rush I've gotten here at the workshop with machines being delivered and machines coming in, and I'm thankful for each and every one, just because it keeps me going.
Of
So
course, this time, I mean, this is to have work. Oh my gosh, we haven't even seen the beginning of what's going to happen.
yeah, and I remain optimistic but cautious. I think just because it's a real threat, but nonetheless, I know they're rushing to find a cure. I know that other folks are using common sense and due diligence to keep themselves safe, and we can't stop living. We just have to keep on plugging along as best as we can.
Yeah, yeah. You just worry though. I've seen people say that the restaurant business they can't do it. They can't operate at a 6-foot distance. It's not even worth opening, and some of these poor souls are going to lose their little dreams business.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've actually seen that. I've seen that locally, and
It's
other
gut-wrenching.
other businesses as well. I had a friend that is real close to the workshop that ran an automotive center, and just because people were staying at home, told to stay at home, his business kept dropping and dropping and dropping, and he just shut the doors about 2 weeks ago.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and yeah, so I mean it's having a real impact, and we've got to find a way to move forward with
Yeah.
caution, but we've got to move forward. We can't obviously hover. Businesses can't hover. Schools can't hover. People can't hover. We've got to find a way to move forward. We've had other epidemics and other diseases
Yep.
that have hit us
Yep.
before, and somehow we muddled through it. So we've got to keep on muddling. So,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to kick on my fun music, but just so people kind of understand the significance of the poem, and that this was a machine that you girls used at home. It was your go-to.
We learned on it, Scott. We taught ourselves how to sew. And with a little bit of help, remember back then you had to take home ec for one semester. Even if you were in the upper academics, you had to take home ec. And in that home ec, I think, if I remember correctly, you got 6 weeks where you learned some cooking. You got 6 weeks where you learned some very basics but good solid basics of how to do sewing and following a pattern, the correct cutting, etc. But that's all we had, and then we were all self-taught. And my mother was not a very good seamstress. She was artsy, so she just got it done.
Sure.
But no, we cranked out some beautiful work on that white, and so the big difference was when we finished high school and we could all buy a little Singer. So you're talking 67 for me.
Okay.
No, let's see. If I'm 70, yeah, 67. And my other sister was 2 years younger, and then the other is 10 years younger, Alice. But
Sure.
We all made the same comment. We got new Singer machines. I told you the one I had, which you said the Amish shoes, that now I see on eBay for $200, and I can't believe it. But we all said, gosh, what is it? Yeah, it has a zigzag. These just don't stitch. They just don't perform. And some of us came home by then, I was working as a nurse. And I remember the day I asked Mom, where is that white? She said, well, I got rid of it.
Oh my.
And so we just always said there was nothing stitched like that. And that buttonhole attachment, Scott, did a solid buttonhole that I don't think, those machines that we had with embarking now on our careers, our little Singers, whatever, never. And to this day, I don't think the buttonholes are that great. Not compared to that buttonhole attachment.
Oh,
because,
sure.
It was just flawless. You were limited. You only had like 8 little cams to put in it, but it was fine.
Sure.
So, and we all felt the same way. Nothing was like that white. So, it's a pretty funny story.
Well, it's a cool story. It's a very cool story, and I know that we met some time ago, and you shared pretty early on. This was a quest. This was a vision that somehow you girls would get reacquainted with this White Rotary Model 77 again, and you said, hey, if you can do some digging and see what you can find out. So this is kind of a culmination of that. This is going back almost months, where you kind of gave me my marching orders, and I said yes, ma'am. And so it was quite a bit of searching to find. And again, we're not looking for just any machine. When I do a search for someone, whether it's a model like this or a Rolls-Royce of Singers or a Kenmore or whatever it is, I drive that individual that I'm talking to on the other end probably stir crazy, because I ask them close to 70 questions about that machine, so I can get a real clear picture of where it's been, how it's been used, how it's been maintained, and all of that. So there were quite a few whites that I looked at and folks that I communicated with before I finally settled on this one gentleman who, as I shared with you, it almost sounds like an infomercial, but he had like a 2-for-1 sale. How much would you expect? So yeah, he gave.
Well, they pop up all over the place here, and I'm more interested in the cabinet, because now I'm going to be sewing in a closet. I'll have my serger in one closet, and because we downsized, so those cabinets I think are great, Scott. And I'm not saying I can put my serger in it.
Sure.
But I'm looking. I found a cabinet, and I'll sit it on it. But because it's such a compact little design with the 3 little drawers that are pretty deep little drawers that you can put serger threads in, I think those cabinets were brilliant.
Oh yeah, a lot of the cabinets that they designed they were on site. I think I shared a little bit of the story of Domestic and White were in partnership for quite a while, and
Right.
the Domestic site out on the East Coast, as I shared with you, and others that are listening right now may have not heard this before, they actually had their own river tributary going right through the grounds of the factory, and they would float lumber down from one end to the other, where ultimately it was milled, and then they would make those cabinets custom for each of the machines that they were selling.
Wow. Well, this protocol is the one that, if you look carefully, what's cute is they kept the same cabinet design, which, let's just call it the L shape, which is what it is, and had a little bench. And that L shape, those drawers, during the kind of deco or the mid-century, they actually put a molding that went L shape over and down instead of handles. But they were, if you look carefully, that brilliant little cabinet table stayed the same except for the handles. So, and I also saw that, I guess some of the old singers, if you look at advertisements that you pull up on your search, so there were different cabinet styles, but this one little prototype is just a brilliant little thing when you're suddenly downsizing or you live in a condo by choice. Even my daughter, the one who has the PhD, she wants to learn basic sewing. She said, "Oh, that cabinet is ideal, Mom, for those of us living in very small spaces."
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It's just and you compare it to the new cabinets that fiberboard, and they just don't hold up.
Oh,
But
no.
granted, I can't store a modern machine in this cabinet, but I have a good space to still work on.
Well, fantastic, fantastic. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap up our call and continue with this premiere so that I can unbox and unveil these two Model 77s, and
Oh, fun.
and then the story, the saga continues.
Oh, now would one of those, could they be put in an old white table?
You know,
Or not? Did they come with those funny little hinges on the back when they're in the carrying case, or not?
they're generally always, any of the machines that are set up to go, that have the capacity to go into a table, are going to have those mounting points engineered into the base, and then it's just a matter of how people use the machine, whether they put it in a carrying case or whether they put it in a table. So let me do this before I get ahead of myself. Let me proceed with the unboxing, and then we can explore that facet of it as we continue to move forward.
Okay, fun.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
all right. Awesome. Well, hey, really good talking to you. I appreciate you sharing
Sure.
that really awesome poem. And I am gonna, as we get ready to hang up, I've gotta give you a last listen to this fun little ditty, because as soon as I hang up, I'm gonna be like all over the box, probably jiggling and wiggling. So hold on a second. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Yes. Oh yeah. If this doesn't take us back to our childhoods, nothing will. All right, well, Carol, have a great rest of the day, and keep on watching.
Okay, excellent.
Yep. All right, bye, Carol.
Bye.
All right, well, that was fun talking to Carol, huh? Now we can enjoy some fun music. So rewind the clocks, and let's head back to Carol and Alice's and Ruth's childhood as we begin to unbox these two White Rotary Model 77s, the same type of machine that these girls learned to sew on. It was their go-to machine, and then it was gotten rid of by their mom, and I'm sure that they were just ready to but you know what? Things work out. So let's open this up and see what we find. That is some good tape. And obviously, all the music selections that I shared during this premiere, this unboxing, actually double unboxing, because we have two different machines that we have to unpack. All of that music is going to be with a childhood type theme. So the last one we just did, if you didn't recognize that from your childhood, it's called Splashing Around. So imagine kids down by a pool or a lake or a pond or whatever, just having a blast in the water in a hot summer, and that's that tune. So what else do we have? You know what? It's always perfectly timed to play a song about farms when you're cow country. So let me play The Farmer in the Dell. This is going to be our next one. Hi-ho, the Mario, the farmer in the dell. Come on, folks! You know the tune. Hi-ho, the farmer in the dell. I can even hear Bill singing from Florida. Come on, Bill, sing it out, buddy. So this is this individual I got this from is also a collector, but I don't think he's watched my video on packing. This is the bottom packing, which is better. It's better than some of the other unboxings. But again, these things get dropped and beat up pretty good, so I would have done it different. All right, well that was fun. That is a fun tune, The Farmer in the Dell. Yeah, I could hear you guys singing. I could hear you. I could hear you singing. Well, it looks like this handle has had better days, huh? I'll zoom in on that handle, which I will try to. I don't know if the girls, Carol and Alice and Ruth, I don't know if they're going to be actually using these carrying cases, or it sounds like they're pretty much going to be going into a table. And that's the way these handles were made. It had that metal band for stability, and then they strapped it with this leather. And not, unfortunately, leather, like a lot of things, over time it just gets brittle. It dries out. If you've ever owned cowboy boots, you have to constantly be treating them with like a conditioner or lotion in order to keep them from cracking. And handles are one of those things you don't think about it, and then they start to get weaker and brittle, and there you go. So, all right, let's see what we have inside. The hinges work well. Those are usually one of the first things to fail. So, these are just a workhorse machine, I'm telling you. And I'm feeling stuff in this. It must be the foot controller. All right, let me put on another tune for us. So as I was saying to Carol on that call, when I have a customer that reaches out to me, and I can't tell you how many times I have customers that will say, where can I find the machines you have for sale? Where can I find a list of your machines? Where can I find your website that has all of your sewing machines that are available for sale? I just don't do it that way. You know, mine is a one-on-one conversation with that individual, usually by phone. And we will chat through what their sewing objectives are, what kind of projects are they going to be doing, what kind of materials are they going to be sewing. And then I will look at my personal collection and I will identify the machine that I think is going to meet their needs the best. And I think that's the best way to do business. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's looking at the needs, the specific sewing needs of that individual, and finding a suitable machine that's going to meet their present needs. And if I'm able to understand where they're going with it, you know, if it's a personal thing, if it's a business, whatever, then looking out 5 years, what other things might be beneficial to them, and then looking at that perfect machine that I have in my personal collection so I can set them up for success. Well, when it comes to a White Rotary Model 77 like this, it's not that easy. It's not that easy because I don't have a huge number of rotaries in my personal collection. The few rotaries I have are generally going to be domestic. I've had a number of domestic rotary machines, like the 158 MG, well, 153 MG, I'm sorry, 153 MG on my YouTube channel a number of times. That's really a cool machine. And if you're not familiar with the domestic 153 MG, the MG stands for designating that the machine has a composition incorporating magnesium. And you might be saying, okay, what's the significance of saying that the machine, that that particular domestic machine, the 153 MG, is made out of magnesium? What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that when it comes to magnesium, it's something that's going to be stronger than steel, and yet it's going to be 75% lighter than steel, 60% lighter than titanium, and 33% lighter than aluminum, if you can imagine. So it's one of those miraculous building materials that some of the sewing machine manufacturers experimented with because it was just such a cool material to use, and it had so many benefits and so many pluses. It's also a tricky material to manufacture with as well. It can crack, it can have flaws in it, and so the result is you can have a lot of failure along with successes as far as when you're generating those machines. And so it can also be a frustrating material to work with, I guess is my point. It can be a frustrating material for you to try to work with. So, but the reason I guess I feel comfortable bringing up domestic is because, as Carol and I talked about on the phone, Domestic and White worked collaboratively on a number of machines and projects, and even merged their services together like a lot of manufacturers. And so a lot of the same attributes, the pluses that you see on the domestic side, can also be seen in some respects carried over to the White as well. Blah, 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 blah. So let me get this out of the case, because all we're looking at right now is a case partially open. And let me see if I can give you a closer look of this special machine from the childhood of Carol and Alice and Ruth, or as they're affectionately called, the Stitchin' Sisters. Let me see if I can get this out of here. kind of a neat little case. I'm going to move this off the table, but I'll just see if the camera has a shot of it so you can see it. Because it's kind of a neat case, and it has some of the same characteristics as the trapezoid type case that you can carry the Singer 301A and the 301 in as well. And that was a time when they used to just build cases with a sense of pride and a sense of quality. Even though the handles have the potential to fail, as you can readily see, the rest of the case was pretty doggone bulletproof. And I think I hear something moving around in there. And I don't think it's alive, so that's a good thing. Let's see if I missed something. Yeah, maybe I'm hearing things. I need to put more music on. So I think these cases are, you know, I don't know what the girls are planning on doing, but I think these cases are a wonderful thing to have, and a wonderful way to store the machines too, if they're not going to be mounted in a table. Let's say they're sitting on top of a table, and all of a sudden you have the grandkids come in, or the grandkids are going to come in. You can put that machine away and keep it safe, because let's just face it, kids are curious, and machines can fall prey to their curious little fingers and hands. All right. So let me set this foot controller, seeing how this is kind of wrapped. Come around here. Okay, I think we got it figured out. And this is a foot controller you may not see a lot. Where is it? This is a foot controller you might not see a lot of, and they work quite well. And they can be, I mean, they could technically, I guess, be mounted in some sort of a table, but they're just designed to sit on the floor, and you just press them like any other foot controller. And this one, as I'm looking at the stamping on it, which you're not going to be able to see, was actually made in my hometown in Wisconsin. If you want to Google it and say, well, this is where Scott grew up as a little boy, you can Google Racine, Wisconsin. R-A-C-I-N-E, Wisconsin. And Racine, Wisconsin has a number of very well-known prominent businesses that were kind of established there as well. I mean, there's Incinerator, there's J.I. Case company that later became Case International, making tractors for people all around the world. There's Johnson Wax, and Johnson Wax, Johnson & Johnson. They're the same company. And the Johnson family actually lived in Racine, Wisconsin. And when I was going through college in the summer to make extra money to pay for my schooling and other expenses, I actually worked at a place, and this is another thing you can Google. I worked at a place called Wingspread in Racine, Wisconsin. And Wingspread was the actual residence of the Johnson family when their kids were growing up, and while this business was starting to blossom and begin to grow and bloom. So a lot of neat things. And have you ever heard of the children's, since we're talking about the childhood memories of these girls and this white 77, have you ever heard of the Golden Books? The Golden Books, those really cool little kids books, they were like a golden cover. That was also made in Racine, Wisconsin as well. And there's a number of other businesses as well that took down and put down roots in Racine, Wisconsin as well. So it was really kind of a booming town growing up as a little kid. So there's some of the other things you didn't know about me. And you can Google Racine and kind of look at the town and the history of the town a little bit. You can Google Wingspread and look at the place that I worked while I was in college. The residence of the Johnson family, and there you go. So let me set this to the side, this foot controller, and I'm going to set the power cord to the side, and let's take a closer look at this very cool White Rotary Model 77. And obviously I'm just taking it out of the box, so It hasn't been cleaned up or anything yet. And you know what? Why don't we just come off of the tripod? Let's do that. First of all, I want to put on like another tune or something. Hold on a second. Should have done that before I took it off the tripod. Duh. Come on, computer. I believe in you. I believe in you. I don't know if we played this one yet. Hold on a second. I don't think we played this yet, did we? No, I don't think so. This one is called Lovable Clowns Sit Down. I'm not making it up, folks. How could I? So this is the White Rotary, as you can readily see. The White Rotary Model 77 that the girls grew up sewing on. They learned how to sew on this machine. And it's way cool, don't you think? It's way cool. It's got kind of a tight little harp space. But you know what? When you're little girls, how much harp space do you need? And they do an excellent job of labeling the controls, you can see. This is going to be our stitch. Where's my finger? This is going to be our stitch length right here. And you know what the cool thing is about the White Rotaries? And Domestic has similar features. You not only can adjust the stitch length going forward, but you can also adjust the stitch length going backwards. That's why it has forward on there. And you can see you can go between these two controls. Adjusting stitch length, reverse and forward. How cool is that? And there's our, whoops, hold on. Air compressors are a wonderful thing as long as they don't go off in the middle of a premiere. Ah! And this is obviously our reverse control. If you want to wind a bobbin, I haven't played with one of these in a while. Oh, there we go. That was a weird ending to the song, wasn't it? You grab this little ball right here, and you basically push up. Is that how you do it? I haven't done this in a while. I think so. Hold on a second. That may be stuck. I may have to work on this. Oh, yeah, it is. That's how you do it. You just push it up, and then it locks into place. And this bobbin tire obviously has seen better days. So, and then when you're done, you just drop it back down, and then if this is lubricated properly, this will drop back down as well so that it's not making contact with the balance wheel. And then this is our clutch disengagement right here on the side. And I don't know about this specific model. I'm not absolutely sure about this specific model, but I'm pretty sure that the balance wheel that you see kind of shiny right here, like the domestic equivalent, is not going to be chrome plated. Just like this over here is not going to be chrome plated. It's going to be silver plated. That was one of the things that Domestic started doing, and as Domestic worked with other partners like White, a lot of those same things were carried over to those models that were from other companies. So I'm not going to say with absolute certainty, but I'm pretty sure about 70% that this is actually silver plating. Any of the things you see that look chromed are silver plating. That's just the way Domestic did it. I shared that with Carol in another phone conversation, that Domestic would only do 25,000 machines a year. 25,000 machines a year because all of them were handcrafted. And this is really a gorgeous base too, don't you think? Very, very nice base. That looks like it is oak. It's not just stained to look like oak. And when you look at this machine from the top, it really does have kind of a muscular look to it. At least it does to me. It has kind of a muscular look. It just has kind of a chiseled body style to it. There's our faceplate. It's kind of almost like a matte, faceplate. Has kind of a little bit of a texture to it. We're looking over the back of the machine now. And there's our motor, and this is going to be one of those motors that it's got a spring in it. And I recently got somebody that contacted us through Facebook Messenger saying that this wasn't making good contact with the balance wheel, and it's because the spring that's inside of here that allows that pulley, see that pulley right there, come in contact with the balance wheel. And this pulley is obviously going to have to be replaced. It's had a real good life. But her spring in her motor was broken, so that it wasn't, when it was away like this and you let go of it, it didn't do anything. Instead, it should have been pulled back to that balance wheel, like so. Let's see if we can turn it around and we'll look at that plate on the back. Good gravy, what did I do? I ran the cord underneath, jeez. I ran the cord underneath the back of my little pad. Okay, let's take a look at this. So, where was this motor made? Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit here. Yep, you read it right. Cleveland, Ohio, USA. Cleveland, Ohio, USA. And it doesn't give us amps. It's saying 65 watts, 110 volts, 75 cycles. But if I remember correctly, this is going to be almost the identical motor that is on the domestic 153 MG, and it's going to be right around 0.8 amps. Don't quote me on that, but it's going to be real close to an amp. Real close to an amp. So this, when this is running well and it's been serviced properly and you've got a new pulley on there as well, this thing will go through patio blocks. And I'm sure Carol and Alice and Ruth could attest to that, that it is a very, very strong machine. That almost looks like a jet engine on the side, doesn't it? That's kind of cool. It's all metal, folks. There's no goofing around with plastic on these machines. And then we have another little plate over here that I'll show you. Do you remember us talking about magnesium? What do you see? Model 77 MG. Just like I was talking about the domestic Model 153 MG. So what is that telling us about the composition of this white machine? This white Model 77? Yeah. The composition of this machine includes magnesium. So it's stronger than steel, and it's about 77% lighter than steel, lighter than aluminum, lighter than titanium, but built like a tank nonetheless. So how cool is that? I think I heard a couple of young people say that's hecka cool. Super cool. And this obviously we unscrew, and I obviously don't know how well this is mounted to the base, so I hope I don't do something silly on camera, but and I'm going to move this this vintage thread, at least move it off temporarily. See if we're able to tilt this back. I'm just curious to look underneath. You can discover all kinds of interesting things. Yeah, if that's not loose now, it's never going to get loose. Let's just throw that to the side. Oh, goodies down here. It looks like we also have a base repair as well. You see that little piece of wood kind of fall off. And here we're looking at the bottom of this white Model 77 Rotary. And thankfully it has the bobbin case, because this takes a little bit of an unusual, as you can readily see, this takes a little bit of an unusual bobbin case. See that? And then it has the pressure bands across the front of it that allow you to increase or decrease bobbin pull. And I've got to hold onto the machine so I can't point at it, but across the front of there it's basically a flange that you can increase or decrease pressure if you're getting loose stitches on top. And it's engineered really well. It's built like a tank. Obviously some cleanup opportunities, but that's just caramelized old oil on there. And then Carol and I were talking about tables and stuff, and you can see here we actually have a stamping on the inside of there. I don't know if you can read that. Number 3. Does that say control? I think it says control number 3, whatever that means. And let's see here. Okay, we got some other goodies in here. Looks like some extra bobbins. Maybe another attachment, I can't quite tell. And then some Gorilla Glue opportunities for these supports that are going to support the machine. So, real good shape. I like dealing with other collectors. They generally have machines. They're not going to be perfect because they have to be finalized, but they're going to be in solid mechanical working order in good condition. So I feel like my fellow collector friend has treated me well. And here you can see, as I have it tilted back, we've got the light right there, and there's our switch right there for the light as well. And some of this wiring on the outside can look just terrifying, this old wrap style wiring, but it gets discolored over time, and the copper wire on the inside 99% of the time is just absolutely perfect. So all right, I'm going to set the camera down just so I can lower this down carefully and not hurt the machine or my fingers, if you know what I mean. All right, so before I forget, I'm going to screw this back in. So again, if this has the same attributes as the domestic 153 mg, this being a 77 mg, this plate as well will clean up nicely. And this plate as well, I would suspect, is going to be silver plated. So silver plating, silver plating, silver plating, and there's probably, yeah, up here too, silver plating. This may also be silver plating as well, the spool pin itself. So this is the machine that Carol and Alice and Ruth grew up with. And it almost looks like it could be a kid's machine. Again, it's got that 3/4 size feel to it. It's got that intimate little harp space area where, you know, smaller kids, young girls, young boys, you know, their hands just fit that space. It doesn't feel like an overwhelming, daunting type machine to deal with. It's more their size. It's not quite a So Handy electric size like the one that went out to Veronica, but it's a smaller machine. It's a 3/4 size, like a 99, 99K, etc. So it really is the perfect machine for young girls or young little boys to learn how to sew on. Don't you think? And I love their plate. I'm loving their plate. It's got that beautiful scroll writing, White Rotary, and it's just a classy looking machine. It's just classy. All right, let me get back on the tripod. We've got another unboxing still to do with another White Rotary Model 77. Again, the gentleman, the collector that I brokered this deal with for Carol and for Ruth and Alice, gave me a 2-for-1. He had 2 of them, and we worked out a deal, and so I ended up getting 2 of them. So this is kind of cool. That way the girls don't have to fight over the machines, hopefully. Hopefully. All right, so let me bring this up here. I'm going to see if I can find a safe place. I'm kind of looking around now because I kind of boxed myself in with all the packing materials. I may just have to set this on the floor temporarily. I think that's probably what I'm going to do, as I forgot to put the spool back on top of the machine. Ah! All right, let me set this way over here out of the way so I don't trip over it. And let's grab this next one, which I have a little bit of a head start on. This one, I've got it all the way down to the case that's bubble wrapped. And this should be our second. This should be our second White Rotary Model 77. So let me get a little bit more music on, and then we'll unbox this one too. And we will check out to see how this machine looks. If I remember correctly from the pictures that my friend shared with me. Hold on a second. If I remember from the pictures, this one is going to have a little bit, it's going to have a little bit more wear on it. I think particularly on the bed, if I remember correctly. Philip sent me pictures of both of these machines, and this one I believe had a little bit more use, and so the surface of the bed is a little rougher. I believe so. So let me put on some music. The next one I'm going to put on is called Goat. That's it, Goat, G-O-A-T. So let's see what this sounds like. Now I know I shouldn't play with scissors, but listen to the song. And any of you right now that are just pining to have your beauty parlor open up again, or your hair salon, or your barber shop, or whatever it is, are probably saying, okay, Scott, you keep that up, buddy. We're going to show up at the workshop, and you're going to be giving haircuts, pal. You're going to be giving haircuts. I wish I had a second set. Do I? Do I have a second set? Hold on. These are actually for material cutting, but this might work. Hold on. Here we go. And I do have safety goggles on. I'm doing this safe. America does have talent. It's not in the workshop, but we're working on it. Anyone that says we don't have fun on this channel doesn't have a clue. They don't have a clue. All right. So I'm going to pop on another one. We're going to jump into this. Next one is called Toy Piano. Toy Piano. Here we go. They're getting pretty wild here, folks. They're getting pretty wild. I heard you. Remember to angle the scissors, Scott. Remember to angle the scissors. I heard you. So that one again was called Toy Piano. Let's see. I've got Hush Little Baby, but that's a little bit too chilled for me. How about Hickory Dickory Dock? Hickory Dickory Dock. Here we go. Oh, they're singing too. Nice. Hickory Dickory Dock. Come on, sing with me.
Hickory dickory dock, the bee buzzed round the clock. The clock struck 5. She went to her high.
Hickory Dickory Dock. Tick tock. Love that tuba bass or whatever that is.
Hickory dock, the hen pecked at the clock. The clock struck 6. A little 6. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock.
It's a pretty case, isn't it?
Hickory dickory dock.
It's a little bit of a different style case than the other one.
Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock. Hickory dickory dock.
Wow, we got newspapers. And my friend is from out in New York area, so they're probably New York newspapers, I would guess. Guessing. Maybe. Might be. Could be. Okay, what do we have now? Oh, this is a fun one, the next one too. And it's funny, as you look down the mood of all of these kids songs, many of them, if not most of them, are all labeled happy. Because kids are happy. Why do we lose that? Many of us lose that when we become adults. We become adults and that happiness factor just goes away. So go back to your childhood in your mind and remember this great song called Pop Goes the... Yeah, you already finished it. Pop goes the weasel.
All around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought it was all in good fun. Pop goes the weasel. Penny for a school with bread, tuppence for a needle. That's the way the monkey goes.
Up goes the weasel. So the coloring's a little bit different on this machine as well. Remember the other one was kind of a chocolate brown? This is almost, I don't know how to describe it. How would you describe it? Type it in the chat. Type in the chat what color you think this is, if you can see it clear enough in the camera.
The mulberry
And I'll zoom in on it.
chased the weasel. The monkey thought it was all in good fun. Pop
Goes the weasel.
penny for a school with bread, a tuppence for a needle. That's the
Dun, dun,
way
dun,
the
dun.
monkey goes.
Pop goes the weasel. Now you'll be able to see it better when we take it out. It's kind of a weird, it's almost like an off green or something. I don't know how I describe it. And obviously the same foot controllers. Whoops. Ooh, this is kind of fun. Almost sounds like Broadway music. Kind of the style of music they had in the movie Annie.
Around the mulberry
Yeah.
bush, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought it was all in good fun.
Up goes the weasel. That was fun. That's a fun song. Well, I don't remember this damage being in the pictures that my friend, the fellow collector, sent me. I see a crack on there. And that might be, maybe I missed it, but that would be a repair. Otherwise, that I would have to try to do. I'll have to see. We'll know as soon as, whoops. We'll know as soon as we rotate the machine back if that piece is underneath and it got broken in shipping. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think that is a cool case. It's definitely a cool case. Kind of look at it over here. It just goes to show you they don't always make identical cases for the same type of machine. So, but there's the damage I'm talking about right there, and I don't remember that. You can see how that, and I talked about in manufacturing, magnesium is it can be tricky to work with. It can be fragile. It can crack, and you know, there's benefits and pluses, I guess, to any material you're manufacturing with. So let me move this case out of the way. And we'll take a closer look at this White Rotary Model 77. And I'm not sure which color the girls would have grown up with. I don't know if it would be closer to this one or if it would be closer to that chocolate brown one. I'm guessing the chocolate brown one was probably a little bit more common, but possibly not. All right, let me put this in the back area, set that alongside. All right, I'm going to come off the tripod. I'll put on another song. I'm going to come off the tripod and we'll take a closer look at this Model 77. And what did we just do? Pop Goes the Weasel? Yeah. So the next one is called After School Jamboree. After School Jamboree. Yeah, my recollection was right. See how the bed is showing more wear, which means this machine probably got quite a bit more use than the other one. Or more zippers. It looks like we had the bobbin pop out of the raceway too. Yeah, White Rotary. See what I mean by the finish? It's kind of almost like a green color, wouldn't you say? I'm not sure how you would describe it. And the same features, obviously upper tension right here. Our stitch length adjustments for reverse and forward, and then actually our control to go in reverse. And then our same little system of winding a bobbin, push that up. See, this one's responding a little bit better than the other one. And another bobbin tire that probably needs some TLC replacing. And we can see on the side that little plate that we looked at before. 77MG56203. So this machine is also magnesium based. which means it's stronger than steel, but about 77% lighter than steel. And you can kind of see the composition of magnesium when you look at it from the side, the casting. You can kind of see the pockets and stuff and why that might have a tendency to be a little bit more brittle. A little bit more brittle. That's a fun tune, isn't it? And again, our clutch release. And again, I would be of the same mind as the other machine that we already looked at, the other 77 white. That's going to be silver plating, just like the domestic models, the 153 MG. It just says a lot about a company when they value the just the overall function and the design and the building quality of it enough that they're going to silver plate things instead of putting, you know, more commonplace chrome on it. And like the other motor, we are being based out of Cleveland, Ohio. Got kind of the wrong angle. There we go. That's a little bit better. And again, I would estimate that the power of this motor is probably going to be just a little bit short of an amp. Got a lot of bite, a lot of power. You know, and comparatively, if you think about this type of motor, again, I just love that end. Looks like the turbine of a jet engine almost. This pulley's in better shape, huh? And when you're storing these machines, when you're not actively using them, it's not a bad idea. See how this rotates back? And this spring is working beautifully too. When you're not using the machine, you'll want to keep it away from the balance wheel. Otherwise, it can tend to create a little bit of a dimple in that malleable material that's on that drive pulley. So you would just slide something in between here, you know, pretty much anything just to keep that away from the balance wheel. All kinds of secret little fun doors that I can explore. Look at that. There's a little door to go in and to be able to do some servicing. And the same type of wiring you can see. Again, that wrap wiring can discolor over time. Don't let it worry you. The copper wire on the inside is, like I said, 99% of the time just perfect. This can get discolored and kind of look nasty looking, but it's not going to affect the soundness of the or the safety of the machine. Yeah, we're just looking at the back. Same type of faceplate. It's kind of a flat, almost like a, I don't know if I'd call it Godzilla, but it's got that kind of flat, textured look to it. Similar to some of the Class 66 machines that came out by Singer. People really kind of fell in love with that matte finish. All right, let's get this turned around. Curiosity is getting the best of me as to whether or not, you know, with the process that I go through in vetting a seller and stuff, I don't think I would have missed something like that unless his pictures just didn't reveal it. Yeah, a little bit of a presser foot issue on this. Okay, let me find another tune to put on. I think that's a pretty color, don't you? It's not quite a Husqvarna mint green color, but it's I think it's a lovely color. Okay, so we just did After School Jamboree, and now we're going to do the wheels. Oh, everybody knows this one. The wheels on the bus. You guys know that one, right? All right, here we go. The wheels on the bus. All right, let's get this opened up and see if we have that piece underneath there. Round and round, wheels on the bus. Well, I don't see the piece, but I could check the packing material too.
The wheels on the bus.
Yeah, there's our bobbin. Our bobbin's over there. Our bobbin case is over there. A little bit of fluff. And this one says number 3 as well. $5.96. Assuming this says control or something like that. And this one obviously is a little bit dirtier. We kind of look at the So I don't see that piece. I don't see that piece. I'll have to check the packing material, see if it's in the packing material. Man, they're getting out of control. All right, let's set this to the side over here. Through the town. Oh, through the town. Okay, I'm going to put the camera up on the tripod, and I'm going to grab that other Model 77. And we'll get them both up on the workbench at the same time. If I can reach that other Model 77. Oh, looks like I can. I just totally messed up that thread. Well, now that I'm looking at them side by side, I guess maybe it was a matter of lighting. Maybe they are the same color. For some reason, the other one looked browner. Maybe I didn't have enough coffee. That's probably it. And I'm actually going to adjust this tripod so we can get a straight-on shot now. So once again, kind of going back to the childhood of Carol and Alice and Ruth, this is the type of machine that they learned how to sew on. The white Model 77 MG. And I just think that they're fabulous machines. They really are. They're strong. They're reliable. They lay down a beautiful stitch, as Carol shared when we chatted a little while ago. And they're just a machine that you can go to every time and you can expect the same type of result from. They're not going to be inconsistent like some of the newer machines where you got a good day, you got a bad day. This is a machine that the girls could count on every single day that they used it in getting the job done. So, to the Stitching Sisters, I am going to, as soon as I'm able, begin to plug away on these machines. I don't know if Carol's going to want both of them, because I got kind of a 2-for-1, and now that I'm looking at that damage on the one machine on the left, I'm kind of knowing now why my collector friend gave me a break, unless I find that piece in the packing material and it was damaged in transit. But nonetheless, they're both machines that have incredible potential for greatness, and a way for these girls to rekindle those great memories they have of their childhood of sewing on their white Model 77. So I'm going to end this with another kid's song, because that's kind of what the whole feeling of this premiere is about. It's going back to a childhood and remembering those great things that make memories so fabulous, and made sewing something that you latched onto and it became an integral part of your life, instead of something that just you kind of tried it and that was it. So this one is called Springtime Family Band. Springtime Family Band. I have no idea what this sounds like, but here we go. All right, am I just freaking out, or for some reason I'm seeing the opening to the old series, The Teletubbies? Oh boy, I'm gonna have nightmares over this one. I hear you, Mr. Bean. I hear you. Hold on. Well, thanks for tuning into this fun premiere, kind of going back to visit the childhood of Carol and Alice and Ruth, and just the wonder that they have of their memories of learning to sew and developing an incredible lifelong passion for sewing, all because of that simple machine that they grew up with, the White Model 77. All right, God bless, and remember, you're never old until regrets take the place of your dreams. So hang on to those dreams, and remember as well that the greatest gift in life is working hard at work worth doing. That's what we do here at the workshop every day. I should say not we, me. Well, okay, we. Dr. Singer, Mr. Bean, myself, and obviously the King. Take care, folks. God bless. Bye.